Chris Brown.
Please stand and bow your heads with me, if you so choose. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight as we gather to carry out the business of the district. Please give us wisdom as we thoughtfully work through the issues of today. Please be with our students, our teachers, and our staff as they squeeze out the last few days of summer vacation before they return to us, hopefully rested, recuperated, and ready for another wonderful school year. Thank you for all you do for us, and thank you for the time that we're allowed to be together tonight. Please be with us as we go home safely to our friends and our family. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Board Member Fred Campos.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, thank you, Fred. Tonight, the Board of Trustees is meeting in a work session and its regularly scheduled monthly meeting to officially act on items included on the posted agenda. The board welcomes and appreciates comments and input from the community. Open forum is provided at each meeting to allow the public to address the board. There will be 2 open forums tonight. Open forum number 1 is to hear requests regarding agenda items only. Open forum number 2 is to hear requests or make comments regarding non-agenda items and will be heard at the end of the meeting. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify his or her name, group affiliation if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve a concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. We're going to start with the board activity chart. I will start with Mr. Campos.
I was about to say I'd pass. The only thing I would like to say is I'm very honored about all of the organizations that either flock my home or knock on my door. I am so honored to support every one of them here in our community. So feel free to continue to do that. Thanks.
All right, Ms. Cole.
So I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things, even though it is officially school vacation time, this board does not rest. And we spent a good portion of the month of June learning and educating others. So we attended our Summer Leadership Institute, either in San Antonio or in Fort Worth, or in some cases both. And we held a breakout session entitled Train Your Community to Be Advocates for Your Schools. And we taught other school board members and other superintendents about our board ambassador and our student ambassador academies. And Dr. Harrington and Mr. Campos and I presented, and the room was packed in both locations, standing room only, some people sitting on the floor, standing against the walls. And we got more feedback after that session than we have in a long time. People begging for information. Ty knows she was busy sending out all the slide decks and all the information. So it was very well received. We had not presented on our Board Ambassador Academy since 2016. And so it was very well received. Lots of people wanting to start something up. In regards to student ambassadors, I also spoke last week to the new cohort of student ambassadors at their summer retreat and their summer training. And I talked to them about their role as being advocates. And we had a extensive conversation about what does advocacy mean and look like for them as students in that program. and how they can assist us in advocating for them. And then I did a Q&A that lasted another 30 minutes. They were they were not shy about asking their questions, so we had a great time. And I want to brag a little bit because at Leadership Symposium last week, all of the ELT did a great job of presenting all the things that needed to be presented to the leaders. But our board president, Matt Romero, spoke to the crowd, and he talked about board ambassadors and the importance of us relying on the campus leadership to give us folks to continue to put through the board ambassador program. So he did a great job there. And that's all.
All right, Ms. Ewart?
I attended the coaches luncheon this week, and that was fun. Got to see a bunch of old friends, and they were getting schooled up for another year of extracurricular activity, which we all know is very important, and probably some of the main reasons why kids go to school every day is that participation in all those extracurricular things. So I just appreciate all their extra hard work that they put in and the hours they put in.
Yeah, so in April and May, we have our banquet season, is what I always call it, and then now we're in our ramp-up season. So I did get to attend Leadership Symposium, as Ms. Cole mentioned, and we have several more activities coming up. We're welcoming our new teachers this week, and then we're looking forward to convocation coming up in just a couple weeks. So it's getting close to a new school year. So thank you, board. Dr. Harrington, any comments?
We have one comment I wanted to share. Just a sad note. Our former Deputy Superintendent, David Garcia, passed away. David had been battling cancer for a while. But David served as basically our Chief Financial Officer for 5 years. We chased David, heavily recruited David. David was one of the finest CFOs in the state, and we were able to get him to come. David was the architect of our fund that is allowing us to not be in the financial situation that other districts are. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Irene also was an employee of ours, so David will be greatly missed.
Yeah, I remember first time I met David, walking through it was Tasby in Houston, and Miss Ressler said, "Matt, you got to come. We're trying to catch this guy." So we got him cornered behind a Starbucks and made him sit down and talk to us until he agreed to come to HEB. So
we rated everybody, how many people you know compared to David, because David knew everybody.
Right.
So it was just how many less people did you know?
Yeah, he wasn't just a superstar for HEB. He was a superstar in the state. Everybody in that field knew him. So well, he will be missed. All right, any clarifications?
None at this time.
All right, we're ready for awards and presentations. Six Stones Dashing for Hope Award. Ms. Coburn.
Good evening, Superintendent and Board. I know you're thinking ahead to the 2024-25 school year and getting ready to get kids back in school. Six Stones is as well, with our Operation Back to School program happening in less than 2 weeks on Saturday, August 3rd. We're still looking for volunteers and student sponsors if anybody here wants to help. However, we're also thinking about Christmas in July. Night of Hope is coming, just a short 140 days away. Night of Hope is our Christmas support program that provides a spectacular Christmas party and Christmas gifts for over 3,000 students who qualify for free lunch here at HEB ISD and their siblings. The reason I mention Night of Hope is that we have a very fun event called Dashing for Hope that raises money to provide a magical Christmas for these HEB families. This Dashing for Hope event pits teams from HEB ISD, the cities of Hurst-Euless-Bedford, and then also Classic Chevrolet in a competition with a unique obstacle course. Each obstacle represents one of Six Stones' programs. In 2023, HEB ISD had the winning team, so congratulations to you. And the real winners were our students because this event raised over $110,000 to give our students a wonderful Christmas. So tonight, for Christmas in July, I am here to present the trophy for Dashing for Hope to you. We do beg your forgiveness for this taking so long, but the move into our new building in Euless has absorbed a lot of our brain power in 2024. We do want to announce that we are moving into that new building off Highway 10 and Raider Drive, just south of Central Junior High, in early August, and our grand opening will be Tuesday, September 10th, and you're all invited. So, can you come out here?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Coburn. All right, we're ready for open forum number 1. We don't have any cards at this time. The board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. The board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076. All right, at this time, the board will reconvene into open session. Item 8.01, consider approval of Deputy Superintendent of Educational Operations. I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve Brandon Johnson as the Deputy Superintendent of Educational Operations.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Brandon Johnson as Deputy Superintendent of Secondary, or of Educational Operations. Sorry, old job, sorry. Please vote. And that motion passes. Dr. Johnson, would you like to introduce your family?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you all for trusting in my leadership and providing me the opportunity to continue to do the great things that we're doing. My Ed Ops team, excited. Appreciate you all. Ms. Pugh in the back. Everybody else who right now is a blur. I can't thank you for being here. But my family, this is my whole world right here. So my wife Danny, my daughter Olivia, and my son Knox. He's playing with his blocks. So it's just this is what holds me up. So I appreciate them being here and thank them for all that they do to support.
Congratulations, Dr. Johnson. All right, at this time, we'll be looking at consent items. Does anybody have any items they'd like to remove from the consent agenda? I'll accept a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. All right, we're ready for reports and presentations. 10.01, Architects Update. I don't know if there was an introduction or just jump right in.
Josh is not here tonight, so I'll go ahead and introduce Keith, and Joris and Kelly are going to, sorry, Corbin with Joris and Kelly are going to do our presentation.
So thank you for having us back. This evening, we're going to go through the construction schedule. A topic that we want to keep you alight of was the crane locations at LD Bell project. Since we've started construction and working with Joris, we've been working through some details, so we just wanted to give you an update on that. And then we're going to touch on the exterior design review for both campuses, and then some interior updates of both campuses as well. So with that, we're going to start with the construction update, and I'll let Corbin discuss. If you have any questions, we're both here available to answer.
Good evening. So right now at LD Bell, we've got quite a bit going on. If you've been by there, you can see all the construction activities. Looking at the slide here, the existing parking lot, which is where the new building's going, we're still in the Phase 0 preparation with the temporary parking, which is 4 on the slide. We've got the dirt work going on. Talking with Stoney, we should be starting flex base and starting to bring up the lifts we need to start putting the asphalt in. We've also started the tennis courts as well. Obviously, the rain has kind of impacted the progress of work, but we'll be back out there probably tomorrow working because of the Texas heat and sun. Just running through the tabs there at the practice field. Right now we're not doing anything with that. They're able to use that for football season this year. The portable relocation, we got those relocated. I think power's on, final inspection, so we should be ready to go by the 24th, which is what we committed to. So that shouldn't be a problem with having the portables ready to go. The student parking entrance and parking lot, that's that's a working place right now. And the new tennis courts, that's about, from the time we start to finish, is about 120 days worth of work that we've got to do to get those going. And then a new playing practice field, we're waiting for some permitting on that right now. But as soon as that's taken care of with City of Bedford, we'll be out there working and doing a little bit of grading and some dirt work and putting irrigation in and sod. So that is Phase 0 right now. Any questions on Phase 0?
Do we see the parking switching over to the lot 4 November, December?
That's probably a pretty good time frame, depending on what fall weather looks like and whatnot. It may move a little bit, but I would say that November, December time frame is what we would be looking at. And we're working with the school and the AD and everybody, making sure we're communicating what's going on and coordinating work and whatnot. So Phase 1. So right now we're anticipating Phase 1 bidding November timeframe, and depending on permitting, with the city and what that looks like, we would start probably end of this year, first part of January is what we're kind of anticipating now. But again, the permitting process is going to kind of dictate what that looks like. We're working with the cities. We've been communicating with the cities, with Josh and Corrigan, and working through that with them so they understand what's coming down the the pipeline to them. Trying to look here. So we're not touching the indoor athletic facility. Obviously, number 2 is the new building. It's Phase 1. The parking lot will be in by the time we start Phase 1 construction. And then the bridge across the FEMA floodplain, flood area, we're working on trying to get that in sooner than later also as well, so they have safe access to the football fields. And then Phase 2, new buildings built, tennis courts are up and running. It's time to demo the old school and start putting the parking and utilities and everything in where the old school was. Get the temporary parking demoed and removed. Put the football fields back in, and y'all are back in business as usual. Just a few years down the road.
I have a question.
Yes.
On 3 right there, is that a field or is that a parking
Yes, that's
lot?
the practice field.
So that
so
3
right
is
now,
going to be a grass field.
It's a paved for band. It's the band practice field.
Okay.
Yes. So right now, because the site is so tight, there's not a whole lot of area for us to set up and build this building. And mind you, it's 3 stories. So if you look at other high schools around DFW that are being built, on green spaces, they take up a lot of area. So we don't have a whole lot of area to stage material, stage connexes and things like that. So we're having to get creative with, you know, how we're building this. So not a big deal. That's what you pay us for, but I'm just saying that's, you know.
No, but it's something that we have to consider as we look at
That's what I
this.
wonder.
And as we talk to our community, you know, not to necessarily judge a book by its cover, because any other school that is being built on 2 or 3 times the size
Yeah.
of what we're doing here.
Right.
And so we're, as a board and as a community, we have to remind each other all the time
Right.
about the patience that it takes to do something like this.
Yes, ma'am. And there's a lot of moving parts. You know, right now, you know, hang on. Okay. The blue is, you know, what we have for space to utilize to bring in, you know, equipment and connexes and material and everything. So it looks like it's a lot, but once you start building it, you'll find out real quick it's tight. And it's going to take a lot of coordination. And you add the school and the staff and all that to it, it's going to take a lot of, you know, coordination and you know, teamwork to get it done.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting project because it's going to be kind of like one of those fixer-upper reveals.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to be working, and then all of a sudden you're going
Right.
to tear down that old building, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh wow, I didn't
Yeah.
know that was there."
Didn't know there was a building there. Exactly. So.
Move that bus.
Exactly. Move that school.
Yeah, right. So any questions on LD Bell right now? The Trinity, I think, is next, and it's got a lot more moving parts, just because of, you know, the site constraints and the number of buildings associated with it. So right now we're in phase 0. We've got the new sped area built. I think we finalized the permit last week, so that's ready to go. So that was one of the major undertakings we wanted to achieve during the summer, is make sure that we had a place for the sped kids. You have a question?
Yeah, I do. Where is?
I'm sorry, where is that located?
Is it building?
Right.
No, L. I think it's library.
Right,
Library.
because I saw in here something that alluded to the fact that it was in the science building, but I thought it was in the library.
It's in the library.
It was going to be in the
Yeah.
last building. and
We
then
moved
they
it.
decided
Okay.
to move it to
Yeah,
the
we
lab.
moved it. We moved it a couple of times.
Gotcha.
You're good.
Thank you.
It's great.
It was originally going to be a standalone portable.
Yes, we
wasn't
had,
it?
yes, sir. Yeah, but I think this was the right thing to do. It basically using an existing space and building it to the spec you needed made sense. So we've moved the portables over. Number 3, we've relocated the portables and got those set, putting the skirting on and the deck. We've got the fire lane. We're anticipating pouring the fire lane at the end of this week, but the rain we've been having has kind of, you know, slowed that down a little bit, but we're still pushing to get that poured this week and striped next week in preparation for teachers and kids coming back.
Are the portables that one area, because I drove by there today, so they're that front area up
Yes,
there
ma'am.
in front of the end building, but there are 2 portables that are back.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those 2 portables going to stay back there
Yes, ma'am.
in that parking lot?
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Lot? Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
And then number 1 is that will get demoed with the tennis courts. And the tennis courts will not go away until the new tennis courts are built. So let me get to that phase, which is this right here. So this is what we're calling phase 0.1, and we're basically coming in to set up our laydown area for building phase 1, which phase 1 is it'll be on the next slide, the athletic area. So that will be our phase 1, along with line item 5 is the new tennis courts. So we'll get those built first, and then we'll demo the old tennis courts, any structures that are in the footprint of phase 1, and then we'll start putting utilities in. And yes, ma'am.
I do apologize.
That's fine.
When I look at these tennis courts here, that's not really the drawing of the tennis courts, is it?
No, that's just a diagram. Yeah, we're still
right.
working through the design and all that stuff. So yeah, that's not what the final is going to look like. It's just more to let you know that we are putting tennis courts in.
Yeah, and just to clarify, there will be 9 tennis courts, which will match LD Bell. We got the drawings today with Civil to refine that location, along with drives and additional parking. So we will be updating the drawing. It's just brand new information that we got today, so.
Well, and remember, we purchased the Masonic Temple, and so we were able to build on that land, which gives us more space. That was, we were just way too constrained at Trinity, and we finally were able to finalize that purchase, and it gives us a location now for those.
And one of the things we're working through also, just like LD Bell, I mean, this is probably as tight or tighter than LD Bell, because the red is really what we have to stage for phase 1. And phase 1 is a big building. It's your athletics. I mean, it's a large space. So we're talking with the church across the street about utilizing their parking for construction people during the course of actually the whole project. And then, obviously, we've got to do some rework to their parking lot and whatnot. We're not going to put any material out there. It's just truly for employees to park. We'll have to stage all the material in the red that we have. Any questions on phase 0.1?
Is anything happening at the project next door while what phases does that start
So
happening?
at some point, yes, they will be going simultaneously. We will be in phase 1 when we start Midway Park. Right now, I think April is the time frame on. So that corner there'll be a lot of activity going on over there. The good news is we're doing both, so there won't be any, issues with contractors fighting and things like that. So,
Yeah, I just didn't know if Midway Park was phased after Trinity was well along, then you could have all that land back there where it's gonna
right now, there'll be some overlap with it. Phase 1 is, like I said, the athletic area. It's 15 months, and like I said, we are, everything's dependent on the permit. When we get the permit, and we'll do everything we can to tighten up those durations. But right now, that's what we're anticipating at this point. As far as looking in the future in our crystal ball. So phase 1 is pretty straightforward. Phase 2 gets a little more complicated because now that phase 1's done, we're going to move everybody out of the existing athletics into the new athletics, and we're going to selectively demo the part of the athletic building and build your new classroom and your kitchen wing in phase 2. While we're doing that, our job office is going to still be down here where it's currently located, and then we'll have some material staging up there where number 2 is, as far as steel and connexes and other things to try to just help with that. What we're trying to do is keep from overlapping or crossing paths with staff and teachers and whatnot and students while we're trying to build phase 2. Let's see. Anything out here on? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Complicated, but cut and dry. Phase 3 is the VPAC. Obviously, we'll have to tear down the buildings that are in the footprint before we start construction, and then we will also start the phase 3 parking, which is there in the red, and phase 5 is the fine arts building that'll be there through phase 3, and phase 4 is basically tear down the remainder of any structures and build parking and landscaping and finish up. It's real simple. Any questions?
Very helpful.
Just in general, I know we're 6 months into, or 7 months into the year. What's escalation look like in 2024 compared
Think-
to?
Yeah, I think right now, overall, for the overall project, don't quote me on this. But I want to say we're carrying like 6%, I think, in escalation over the course of the whole job. And I don't have my budget book with me, so don't, hold me to that. But we're definitely carrying something there for escalation as well. And that's, that's one of the, things on a project this size with these types of durations you've got to take into account when you're bidding the project and you're working with the subcontractors to make sure they've accounted for that in their numbers also. So it's not just you bid it, you award it, and you go build it. There's a lot of moving parts to structures of this size.
Yeah, I knew we were accounting for it when we were starting, when we were talking to the architects, we were building that in. I was just, we were using big numbers because when we were talking about this, they were big numbers. 22, 23, we had very high escalation. So
Yes,
I didn't know if you'd seen it slow down over
I think
this year.
it has
or-
definitely come down from what we've seen in the past, but I mean, who knows what it's going to be like over, the next 3 to 5 years. So, is that it? Yep, that's it. Oh, crane location. So, one thing on LD Bell that we've, been working with our construction team, the design team, and our operations team is, when we build LD Bell, what are some of the struggles that we're going to run into? And one of them is, there's a pinch point right here where the new building is and the baseball field where we've got to get a crane. So we've had a lot of conversations with the AD, principal, steel erectors on what can we safely do and where can we safely place a crane while we are erecting, that end of the building. And this is what we've come up with. It's doesn't get into the playing field at all. It's all in the bullpen area, and we will leave it better than we found it, and it won't be forever. So, but in order to safely set the crane up and be able to offload steel and other material and not have issues with swing radiuses and everything else, and this, honestly, once we get out there, this could change for the better. We're always trying to look at better ways to do things and think outside the box, but we also, look at things in worst case scenario. So,
I have a question before we leave actually the school sites. At Trinity, you're actually losing 3 grass fields. Will they be up where Midway Park is now?
If you go back.
Bell has 3 grass fields.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have any on this site, so
Yeah.
my question is, where are you putting those 3 grass?
Where those are going are just
Oh.
to the north of the tennis courts.
yes.
So once the new elementary school is built, the plan is, we are not designing that, but we understand it's somewhere where we put the red school up to the north. So the new practice fields will go where the existing
Right,
school
that's what
is
I was
now.
asking.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't understand the
that was
question.
my
Yes,
question.
yeah, the new practice fields will go where the.
Just north of the new tennis
Yeah,
courts.
Yes,
Yeah.
I didn't see them on the map.
yeah, yeah.
They're putting a storage facility down there too, and it'll be storage for tennis, storage for soccer, because they use those fields predominantly, and for softball, because they're making some changes to the concession stand.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's just,
Oh, okay. All right, your turn.
all right, thank you. So for the exterior design review, we are starting with LD Bell. These are similar images that we showed you last time. So really just re-emphasizing what we looked at last time, bringing the brick from the local school, that reddish-orange color. We replaced all the wood panels that we showed previously and updated all the renderings for that, also showing the graphic options that we have for some of the facilities, such as the athletics and the fine arts areas. For Trinity, we are starting with what we brought you last time, which was the Trespa. This is an example of the Trespa on another campus of that wood material. So this is what you saw last time we presented, and we were asked to look at the wood panel material similar like we did at LD Bell and bring you another option to look at for the Trinity elevations. So again, this is what you saw last time of our original. And a material that we've looked at is a Luder's limestone. So this is an example of it. It's a natural stone material that's used throughout this region. And when you start looking at it, we replaced a lot of the areas that had the wood trespa material with the Luder's limestone. You can see here, as you look at the fine arts area, we also have it integrated in the landscaping as well. So really tying in the landscaping with that material as an option for Trinity. And then another view looking at the gymnasium area as well, bringing that Luder's limestone for that. So really wanted to present this to you as another option for Trinity to see if it's something that you're responding well to, you like, something to, or other options that you might want to see. You like?
I think it looks a lot better than the faux wood that we'd been looking at previously. So thank you for looking at something new. I think it dramatically improved. What is the difference in the cost that we're looking at between these two facades?
We've been working closely with Joris on that. It's very similar to the Trespa panel. It's a couple dollars higher than the Trespa panel. We're really trying to narrow that down with actual vendors right now, but from the estimates we're getting, it's right there in the ballpark.
How about its lifespan?
It's a stone product, so very good lifespan. It's been used in a lot of buildings in the area. So
I know it's hard to tell in the rendering. Looks like you have some kind of color patterning kind of lined out on the walls to kind
of the material.
Yes.
Yeah, we're really just trying to show what the natural aspects of the material. It has variation in it, so that's just the product itself. It's a natural stone, so it comes with some variations. So we were just trying to show it really will have some of that variation.
I mean, I'm good with getting away from the fake wood product, and I like the stone. It just, having it all over the face makes it look kind of boring. And I mean, the bell looks a lot better because you have the contrast between the brick and the other colors. I don't know if there's some way to add some contrast to kind of make the building look a little more interesting, but that's just my 2 cents.
We can definitely look at that. Oh, I do not have the slide numbers on here. Is that before this one, or is it the overview? Is it this one? Okay.
What is the building to the left?
That is the auditorium.
Fine arts.
Fine arts. To the left.
Okay, what I'm
Yeah.
thinking is
The auditorium space.
if I'm
Yeah.
on the upper level, where the walkway is,
Yes.
and I'm in a wheelchair, I have to go all the way around and come back this way and go in?
No, there's an access, there's a door that you can come straight into the building on the second level, and there's an elevator that takes you straight down. Yes.
That's what's gonna be asked to do.
Yeah, not a problem, not a problem. So moving forward, it sounds like we like the direction we're going, explore some, maybe some options on the elevations, just for.
On the building, the main 3-story building that has
Yes.
the big T.
Yes.
It looks like there's 2 color variations between a light and a more red.
Yes, you were
But-
over at the windows, as you were talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
But on the fine arts building, it's all one, it looks like it's all one color. I agree with Mr.
Yeah.
Romero. I think if we can add a little bit more of that secondary color there, that would help that building.
And what we've been looking at for that secondary color is actually a masonry product, so it's not the stone, so it's a different material.
Okay.
But if, taking that and looking at it at the fine arts area as well, is what I'm hearing.
Or a
correct?
combination.
Combination, okay.
These sections to the left of the fine arts, we can do something with that.
Yeah.
It's different, it's lighter than that brick, lighter than that stone. It's just a beige on top of that stone. Looks like
Oh.
it's paint.
Like the,
Oh, up high?
High up there.
Yeah, that is also a brick. It's a lighter brick there. Could be a different material, yes, definitely.
Just a little variation on that building would help a lot.
Sure, yeah, that's definitely something we can do.
But you like the limestone better than the wood?
It looks like the material that's used on the MAC.
Mhm.
The building that's out in the MAC has stone
The
and
MACs, yep.
has white brick.
Good deal. All right. Well, with that, we're going to now turn it to the interior, and I'll let Kelly address that.
Hi. So similar to the exterior, there were comments about reducing the amount of wood on the interior for Trinity specifically. So we are going to start with looking at Bell just to give some reference of the same space. Specifically, the classroom pods is what we're going to be looking at. So this is LD Bell. We're standing basically in the main corridor looking into the classroom pods. The classrooms kind of surround this space. And now we're on the back side. We've got to play with different ceiling types in here a little bit more than our original Trinity one. So looking at Trinity and starting with our original design that we showed, we did have continuous wood planks going throughout. This is, again, starting from the corridor side and then looking on the back side, looking out. So we do have two options for y'all to look at and make a decision. So looking again at reducing the amount of wood in this space. Option one is bringing in some red. We felt this as being a good opportunity to liven it up a little bit. So we've broken up the wood to kind of be at the front end and the back. So we're framing it out from the corridor side and then repeating a similar detail on the back end. And we did switch to a wood panel product. Just to simplify the lines by bringing in those, the red baffles becomes a little more linear there. So we simplified with the wood paneling. So this is option one. And then option two is kind of reversing that, where we've concentrated the wood at the front space and then switched it up at the back. So those are our two options, and I can flip back and forth, how y'all see fit.
Go back to the original, please.
First. And we did adjust just this on the far left of that image. That kind of adjusts with each iteration as we felt it tied in with the design a little bit better. So just to flip back.
Has anybody at the schools looked at these?
Yes.
Do they have
I believe
some
so.
suggestions on that?
Well, I guess we showed this to the leadership group. We haven't really addressed it.
I don't think we've had cameras.
Mr. Q, have you seen this?
Put you on the spot, just a little.
Just a little bit.
I think they've seen the original one. They definitely saw the original one. We came to leadership first and then to y'all for the two new options.
Well, yeah, it was to look at less wood, because it was just so much wood and paneling, et cetera, like, and Bell had less, and so the question is, could we mirror more of the
Well, and Bell's wood was lighter colored too, which
It
made
is.
a big difference, right? So
Yes.
I think both of these, in my opinion, are better than the original.
Than the original.
So I say let the campus make the final determination which one they like better.
Okay.
I don't want to decide that for all of y'all, but
I mean, I think
I like
there,
them both,
Okay.
so.
it seems like there must be some, I don't know, educational spaces. I mean, having a solid red ceiling in an educational space seems kind of weird to me, seems kind of distracting, but, you know.
I mean, having it be up above your eye isn't, you're not taking in it as much. So that's why we like it up there. We do kind of minimize it to the amount of wall space because red is a strong color to take in.
So is
And
that a
then just
metal
in
product or
general-
what are
This
those?
is actually, it's a felt product. They call it PET. So it's actually helpful for sound acoustics.
So it's not
in
going to
this
have any
type of-
reflection or anything?
No, no reflection.
It's absorbs.
Yeah.
It does feel like it brightens the space though, just because it's color, not dark wood.
Yeah.
I think I'd go crazy if I had to be in there.
Okay, well then we'll,
Taking it back to the campus?
Yes.
Yes.
okay. Well, thank you. I think that's all we have then.
Yes, that's everything that we were presenting today. There was some additional information that we provided. It was, one was a study on flooring materials. It was something that the ELT committee asked us just to start exploring with Juris. as we start looking at the budget and looking at pricing moving forward. So we just wanted to keep you updated that we are going through these exercises with the district and also with the contractor as we go through. We're happy to answer any questions if you.
What's the situation with looking at the flooring? So that's something we're looking at for budgetary reasons?
It was purely budgetary. Originally, we were looking at terrazzo, which is a very hardy, it's a poured material throughout the campus. We had that on all levels, and something that we were asked to look at was a couple of different materials that are more budget friendly. They don't have quite probably the longevity of some of the other products, but they are good products that are used in campuses as well. So one we looked at was an LVT product, which is a manufactured, it comes in tiles that you put in, and also a rubber tile type of product that's also commonly used at high school level. So there was no other reason, just to know what's out there and do our due diligence as we look at the budgets of the projects.
All right, so we'll just wait to get more information on that later.
Yeah, we're going to review that and make some decisions as far as recommendations that we can bring forward once we get the numbers.
But we all know terrazzo lasts long. You go in Bel Air, West Hurst, and it looks brand new.
Yeah.
It's over 60 years old, and like you said, and I go to these other schools, and that VCT tile,
No VCT.
I know, but some of those things I've seen, they take up, and you can never match it. And that's in Colleyville. You were in Colleyville, different places. And that's what I look at when I go to other schools.
Yeah.
It's mostly the flooring.
I will say the VCT that you're referencing is a waxed product, so everything we're looking at does not require waxing, which is the new norm, I would say. So anything that we're proposing is, I'm not going to say no maintenance, low maintenance. It doesn't require the reoccurring refinishing of it. So it does hold up longer than what you're used to seeing of the VCT, but it is, you know,
Will you bring
you're
us
paying.
samples to look at?
Yes, we
Good.
can definitely do that.
And picture 42, is that just your building?
This one? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a previous one.
not ordered those chairs.
Well, I was thinking, what is that? You know,
Here, we're just gonna.
it's not a
We're
classroom.
gonna go back to your building.
I don't know what it is.
Please ignore the last slide.
All right. Does anyone have any more questions?
Yes. So we've left the last 13 slides off of the presentation for this floor plans. Are these new floor plans from last time?
They're just for reference. Where we are in the project right now is finalizing all the construction documents, so the plans have settled down. We have all the information from the different campuses. We had a final department head meeting, incorporated all those, so really those were really for reference.
Have they changed since last time?
Not significantly, no. Wall thicknesses here and there, just for construction purposes, but
Are these the current plans?
Yes.
yes.
I believe
Yes.
so, yeah.
When is the next time you anticipate presenting the floor plans to the board?
We can, at anytime you'd like us to, not a problem.
Next time you're here, and please do as you've done previously and call out the changes
We can do that.
from the previous plans.
Okay.
And if you have a set of plans, the plans that we're looking at that have the changes circled from the previous plans, can you provide them to Dr. Harrington to provide to us?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we made didn't we make some changes in the front office complex at Trinity? Or were
Those
they
are
just,
still in work right now.
so they're not ready
They're
yet.
not in the plan
Okay.
set yet.
got it?
Well, that is forthcoming.
So we probably, once we have those, that'll probably be the next time.
Good.
All right, any more questions for the architects or the contractor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, 10.02, disbursements for the month of June 2024. Are there any questions on that? 10.03, employment resignations and retirements. Any questions on this? You have some information to share?
So I shared with you on Thursday that we had hired 195 certified teachers. 117 of those are elementary, 77 are secondary, and 32 teacher assistants had been hired, and that we had 4 elementary vacancies and 16 secondary vacancies. We have continued to work since that report, and we now have 4 elementary vacancies, and we have 13 secondary vacancies. We also have about 9 in queue that came in sometime during the afternoon today. And then we are at right now 210 total professionals, not just teachers. And so I just want to give a shout out to our principals, to our human resources leadership team. There have been requests to hire coming in since the very first week that the board approved the staffing table in March. And there are principals that have worked all summer filling spots. And I'm very, very pleased with where we are. Wednesday is our first day of new professional training. And while there will be about, a dozen spots that we have not filled, that is phenomenal, and it is a much better place than we sat this time last year, as is our number of total hires. Our need to hire as many people has decreased. So just wanted to give you that update, and I would venture to guess that between now and Wednesday, that number will even go down some more.
Great news. Any questions? All right, item 10.04, 2024 STAR EOC Comparison Districts Report. Dr. Norgard.
All right, good evening. This is the last time I'm bringing you data from the 23-24 school year. We're ready to wrap it up. I did previously bring you our preliminary STAR and EOC data. Here is where we're going to start looking at it in comparison. So while this is a report from our 23-24 school year, we are starting into our 24-25, so I've drawn the connection to our new strategic plan for 2024. I just took us back 20 years to 2029. This is related to the priority of student success, the academic rating of the district, in particular meets grade level on STAR, that we have a specific goal. As a reminder, this is the context slide to put this into your head as we look at the rest of the comparisons. This is the percent of economically disadvantaged in our comparison districts. So remember, not all of our comparison districts look like us. We have different reasons that we're comparing to different districts. Some of it is geographic, some of it is programmatic. There's a particular program they use that we've benchmarked off of. But it is important, as you know, just like we do with all of our ERG data, that considering the percent economically disadvantaged, how does that relate to not just achievement, but adjusting for performance? So while this data is not adjusted like ERG, keeping these numbers in mind give you a little bit of context as we look. They are arranged from the highest percentage economically disadvantaged on the left to the lowest on the right. So in general, as we know from ERG, we would expect those with a smaller percent economically disadvantaged would have the higher performance. Last year when I brought you this chart, we were the furthest to the left. We were within 1 percentage point of Birdville, but now based on the most recent TAPR results, Birdville is to our left, but everyone else we're comparing against has a smaller percent economically disadvantaged, and for some, that's not just a minimal difference. Those are some significant differences. So each of the grade levels that we're going to look at, I have 2 ways I'm presenting the data. I'll take just a little more time on the first one so that we know what we're looking at, and then it'll follow that same pattern. So when we look at 3rd grade, you see I left the school districts in order of ECODIS at the top, and so we would expect stronger performance, more green, things above us to that far right. But we see some districts, for example, Northwest, that is a very different picture than us in terms of ECODIS, but we are outperforming them. Red means their scores are lower than ours. Don't stress your brain by trying to do all the math looking at this slide, because I have a visual that's going to do that for you on the next slide, okay? But so the reason this starts each grade is kind of that idea from left to right. We would expect to see more red to our left and more green to our right. Okay, so this is our third grade. So this stays in order by district versus this graphic. So the first chunk of bars, the purple, is approaches. So now they're in order by performance. Okay, they're not appearing in the same order in each section. Who had the strongest approaches performance, who had the strongest meets, and then masters. So you see we're around the middle of the pack, even though we know according to percent EcoDis we were not the middle of the pack for this group. And I included the performance at the state level for reference. That was in the previous data that I brought to you as well. Okay, so that's how we read all of these. We're kind of looking at how do we stack up. So here is our third grade math. Similar, we're hovering right there kind of around the middle of the pack. So when we look at fourth grade, again, we're going to see Birdville and Eagle Mountain Saginaw, the two closest to us, we are outperforming those, as well as in most performance thresholds, we're outperforming Northwest as well. Here's the visual that goes with us. You can see it approaches a lot more closely clustered around that same performance, but really starting to separate out at meets and masters. There in language arts, we stay around the middle. Fourth grade math, we are around the middle, but you see the state has come up closer to the middle. Usually that state bar is near the bottom or possibly one away from the bottom of most of those. So fourth grade math is one we're continuing to look at. What was going on with the state as a whole? What was happening with us? We're looking at our particular teachers' experiences, trainings, things that we know about our teachers that were there. What do we need to be doing this year in fifth grade math? Knowing that we had this performance here. Fifth grade, we add in the science test as well. You see we've got more columns with red. In addition to Eagle Mountain Saginaw, we're outperforming Mansfield, again Northwest, and in several areas in fifth grade Keller as well. But the performances are pretty closely stacked there, but we are high middle of the pack in fifth grade. For language arts, math, we're right there in the middle of the pack, and in science, middle to high middle in our science performance. Sixth grade language arts, Pearland. Pearland is green. Everybody else, we're at least beating them in something or at least tied with their performance when you look at the red-green table, and then you can see the performance differences. So we're up there at the top. Not quite top. Almost to the top. We're going to see some top in some of these other slides. But consistently, as we have frequently talked about with our structure in sixth grade and that opportunity for every student to have 90 minutes of instruction in reading and in math, and how that does for us when we're talking about comparisons that may only have 45 to 50 minutes of instruction in those core content areas. Seventh grade, math, there's no green to be had. No one's beating us in seventh grade math. We do keep in mind as we're looking at comparison districts, as you've heard me say, when it comes to the accelerated math and who chooses to, depending on how they have compacted or accelerated curriculum, what tests students are taking. So we still have our seventh grade ADVAC students are taking the seventh grade STAR, and in many other districts, their advanced seventh graders are taking the eighth grade STAR. So that could account for some of that. On the flip side, you'll see that with eighth grade, where we don't have any of our eighth grade advanced students, and other districts might. So here is the chart performance for seventh grade language arts, and there's the seventh grade math with HEB at the top. If we look at eighth grade, our eighth graders do take 4 tests, so lots going on. We see kind of those same districts, Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, Mansfield, Keller, Northwest, that we are outperforming in addition to Birdville. Here's what that looks like, staying at the high middle of the pack in language arts. Math, more right at the middle of the pack. Science, middle to high. And social studies, middle high. Then we move into our EOCs. We have really seen some movement, particularly with all of our secondary language arts, really back to 7th grade and 8th grade. And now when we look at English 1 and English 2, we really see performances clustered, but compared to our previous performance, which is a different report that I give, we're really seeing some movement here in our secondary language arts. Our English 2 performance, especially at masters when we're really pushing that high performance. We look at algebra Again, lots of red. People are looking at us, trying to figure out what we're doing, because there we are. Pearland in one performance threshold was above us. Biology, we see, again, strong performance, middle of the pack to high middle. Again, I always like when I look down at that master's and at the highest level, that's where we're really leveraging that advantage for our students. And then U.S. history, when you see these bars, I mean, we're just all stacked. Once you're into the 90s, it's hard to have a lot of movement. So yay for students all around. At the approaches grade level, we need that meets and masters. Approaches is not where we want our students to be. As I mentioned, the strategic plan goal, it's about meets. So we continue to push that movement at meets and, of course, masters for our 11th graders. Any questions about our comparison data?
Any questions from the board?
All right. Yes, sir. You would like me to introduce Liz? Okay. We also have with us tonight our new coordinator of assessment and accountability, Liz Schrader. So excited to have somebody else to talk all the data and all the numbers with. We've already had several conversations and talking about lots of representations of data. So you may be seeing other ways to look at our data as we continue to discuss and how do we best bring you the data so that you understand both the what and the so what of the data. Here's what we know, here's what we're doing about it. So looking forward to that partnership.
I think I just want to say something here about how proud I am of our kids. What these numbers showed me is that so many of our kids come to us when they're littles, maybe without coming from resourced homes, maybe not having been read to, maybe, we have a lot of gaps in their learning that we need to make up. And you see that happening in those first few grades. But then not only do we catch our kids up in this district, but then they start to outperform kids in districts that don't look anything like us and that aren't coming from the same place that they came from. And that doesn't happen by itself. Kids don't do that by themselves. They do that with really excellent teachers in the classrooms. And this data shows that.
The longer we have them, the more we widen that gap over our comparison districts. We've seen that in really all of our testing. Just let us keep them, let us do our thing, let them really be able to shine to their potential.
Yeah, doesn't matter where they start, it's all about growth. So. All right, and welcome, Liz. You're part of a pretty high-powered team over there, so. All right, that's the end of our reports items. We're going to start action items, so get ready to make some motions here, board. We did not have any items removed from the consent agenda. So 10.02, consider approval of authorized signature on employee documents. Any questions on this? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve Marcia Perry as an authorized representative to sign employment documents.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve Marcia L. Perry as an authorized representative to sign employment documents. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of update to 2024-2025 staffing table. Ms. Tuttle?
So we are requesting this evening 2 additional bus drivers that will be used to meet the needs of some of our McKinney-Vento students. And these are required for compliance purposes. Any questions?
Any questions on the additional units? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the new units as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the new units as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. 10.04, consider approval of 2024-2025 HEB ISD Teacher Evaluation and Support Systems T-Test Appraisal Calendar. Were there any questions on the calendar? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System T-Test Appraisal Calendar as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the 2024-2025 HEB ISD T-Test Teacher Appraisal Calendar as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 10.05, consider approval of 2024-2025 HEB ISD Texas Teacher Evaluation Support and Systems Appraisal List. Any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the list of Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support System T-Test Appraiser List as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the list of Texas Teacher Evaluation and Support Systems T-Test Appraiser List as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.06, consider approval of financial statements for the month of May 2024. Mr. Williams?
Okay. Seems like it's been a long time since I've been up here. And it has been like 6 weeks. Wow. I went back June 10th. So with that, we're going to look at the financial statements for the month ending May 31st, 2024. So in the general fund, we have a fund balance of 184, 180, 735. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of 12,985,086. It's late in the day. My eyes are tired. Investment interest, as we've been kind of tracking that, for this same reporting last year, we're about $1 million higher than we were last year, 5.7 versus 4.7 last year. Total expenditures as of May 31st, we're at 70.05% of budget, so that's right where we should be tracking in the general fund. The expenditure matrix, typically we're tracking the highest three expenditures. This year we threw a fourth one in there because our other expenditure category actually bumped up to 2% when you're rounding those off. So you're looking at, of course, payroll is always the highest one at 131, 313, 848. Utilities, we're at 2%. The payroll, of course, we're at 85%. That number is going to be a little lower than it typically is because of that fourth category bumping up in there. Utilities, $3,129,410. We're at 2%. Instructional supplies, $2,536,012. We're at 2%. And then I said the other expenditures, what's bumping that one up is insurance costs. Property insurance costs are going through the roof. I think the legislature's actually even got that on their radar to be looking at, and we're looking at some different options too. I can tell you from my first year here 3 years ago, we were at $1.4 million for premium, jumped to 1.7, then to 2.4, 2.5. Now we're looking at 3.6 coming up this next year. I mean, it's getting unmanageable, basically. I mean, we're going to have to think outside the box and maybe look at some different alternatives going forward if the legislature doesn't give us some type of relief. We won't get into that. The Child Nutrition Services Fund has a fund balance of $9,179,912. That's revenues over expenditures of $2,616,552. Mary Ellen continues to do a great job with that department. They're tracking right along the way they should. Expenditures as of 5/31 were at 64.79%. So that budget is performing very well. Debt Service Fund, fund balance of $61,461,778. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $39,925,557. We've received, as of this reporting period, is 100.48% of budget. The first debt payment was $6.7 million back in February. The second debt payment will be $35,590,849. This is coming up on August 15th. And as you remember, a couple of months ago, we did amend the budget in lieu of doing a defeasance this year. We actually amended it to include interest payment for the recently passed 2024 bonds. So it serves the same purpose to spend down those excess debt collections. CK Pre-K Fund, which this next year will be amending that name of that fund, but for now it's still the CK Pre-K Fund. Has a fund balance of $577,325. That represents revenues over expenditures in the amount of $387,849. We are at 105.03% of budgeted, so did really well there. At 5/31, we were at 65.72% of budget, and that fund also performing as expected. Special revenue funds, of course, you know, these are all our federal, state funds. A lot of those roll forward, so these numbers are skewed a little bit compared to the other funds, but total expenditures as of 5/31, we're at 51.94% of budget. Expenditures exceed, the revenues lag because of the payments from the state. I say that every month. But anyway, all of these programs are tracking and doing as expected. Campus Activity Fund, $3,286,107. Expenditures exceed revenues in the amount of $45,176. Revenues for this period increased by $208,000, while the expenditures increased by $322,000. So spending a little more than they're bringing in, which is normal. So that fund is performing as expected also. The 2018 bond fund, the fund that won't go away. One of these days we will get those invoices in, and we will get those paid off. And when we do, we will pay those. Lindsay's trying, but we've gotten. I think we've probably received most of those things, but they just haven't shown up in our bookkeeping yet as far as being paid. So as soon as that happens, we will, and we will. Once all that happens, whatever little bit of funds are left over in this fund, then we will roll those over into the current bond funds. So that, I don't think I've said it, but has a fund balance of $720,238 as of the end of May. Of course, expenditures over revenues in the amount of $1,302,124. 2024 bond fund. This is the one we're ramping up. It's starting to go the other direction. So we have a fund balance of $584,182,866. That's revenues over expenditures in the amount of $585,604,569. Of course, we issued those funds back in February. Received those bond proceeds in the amount of $600 million at the end of March. And then we also paid those accumulated pre-bond expenditures out of that, which is helping us. We're working right now with our financial advisor, we're trying to minimize arbitrage, something nobody on this board, I myself, have not had to deal with because it just hadn't happened in the last 20-something years because interest rates were so low. But now earnings rates are higher than what we get our bonds at. So therefore, the IRS wants their piece of the pie. So we have to really watch that. And one of the ways to do that is trying to hit some spending targets with our bond funds. to minimize that impact, but it is something we'll have to deal with going forward, you know, and our financial advisor works us through all that and guides us and directs us and tells us how we need to be doing all that. So we have made $5.848 million in interest earnings since we received those funds, and that was as of the end of May. So today, I don't know that number. We'll bring that one next month, but we're making some a lot of interest revenue at this point because we're not spending all that much right now, but that will change very shortly. Locally defined capital projects fund balance of $30,603,094. That represents expenditures greater than revenue in the amount of $60,739,661. Of course, these are being used for finishing off Bel Air, which is just about done. And then the Trinity baseball, Bell baseball, softball, concessions, all of those projects that the board has approved. And then, of course, moving forward, we will bring anything else that we feel like the board might want to consider paying out of this fund. So any questions on any of that?
Any questions on the financial statements? All right. Thank you, Delby. I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the financial statements for May 2024 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the financial statements for May 2024 as presented. That motion passes. 11.07, consider approval of budget transfer and amendment request for consideration in July 2024.
This request is actually it's a very minimal request this month, very light for the month of May. We will be, bringing a final budget amendment here at the end of the year, which will be probably much larger than this. But anyway, this one is pretty routine.
All right. Any questions on the budget transfers? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the budget transfer and amendment requests for July 2024 as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the budget transfer and amendment request for July 2024 as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of quarterly investment report for the quarter ending May 2024.
As required by law, we are presenting the quarterly investment report for the month ending in May 2024. Interest rates continue to hold pretty steady at 5.5%. There is some talk out there that the feds will start, by the end of this year, will start lowering that down, probably first time maybe 0.5%, and then it's probably going to just keep going down from there.
All right, any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the quarterly investment reports for the quarter ending May 2024 as presented.
A second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the quarterly investment report for the quarter ending May 2024 as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.09, consider approval of school lunch meal price at elementary and secondary campuses.
Okay, each year, Child Nutrition is required to look at this, and then if the amount we're charging is less than the weighted average of the prior year, which was $385, basically what it says is we can't supplement the paid meals with the free and reduced meals. So what they require is that we have to go up at least with their calculation, which that worksheet is in here. We have to go up a minimum of 10%. So that's what we're requesting, is to go up 10 cents on the elementary meal price from $3.20 to $3.30, and at the secondary campuses from $3.55 to $3.65.
So we're required to go up 10% or 10 cents?
10 cents. Did I say percent? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
So
Any
Dobie,
questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I know we're not allowed to do that for the free and reduced. Are we allowed to do that for the others? Is there anything we can do to reduce lunch price for anybody?
We can reduce, we could
The reason-
supplement it with the general fund expenditures, but.
Well, and maybe I don't understand, but, and I'm asking a question for the board and for you. We're at 90% in budgets, and yet this particular child nutrition budget usually is running about 65%. So I mean, it's a revenue generating because of the efficiency that we're using.
Yes,
And yet
and
we
the
feel forced to
economies
raise
of
lunch
scale.
prices 10 cents every year. It seems like it's contrary.
It is, it's a requirement of the federal government. We wouldn't raise it, most likely, if it weren't required of us to raise it. But we can't charge less than what they tell us we have to charge.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
Dobie, are other school districts at the same price or different prices?
they're at different prices. I mean, every school's different because their
They started
calculations.
low, they only go up 10 cents, which is still below us.
They could be. Some of them are probably higher than us. I haven't done that research. We could probably do that though,
No,
if you
I'm
want to have
good.
a.
I just want to know the process.
Yeah, no, it's different for different schools. And it's based off their average, weighted average pricing and all that stuff, so.
All right. Any
I
other
have to
questions?
call Mariella every year and have her walk me through this process again, so that I don't make her come up here and tell y'all all this stuff, so.
All right. Any other questions on the school lunch prices? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the recommendation to increase the 2024-2025 school lunch meal price at the elementary campuses from $3.20 to $3.20 and the secondary campuses from $3.55 to $3.65 in order to comply with federal guidelines as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve the recommendation to increase the 2024-2025 school lunch meal price at the elementary campus from $3.20 to $3.30 and the secondary campus from $3.55 to $3.65 to comply with federal guidelines as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. 11.10, consider approval of engagement letter for independent audit.
Okay, here we're requesting the approval of the engagement letter with Weaver and Tidwell, the district's financial auditors for the year ended August 31st, 2024. So the current year we're currently in, fiscal year we're currently in, that price remains approximately at a 72.5. It varies up and down from that depending on what all the things they're required to do once they get in here and do all that. But they're doing a good job, so we would like to continue using them.
Are there any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the engagement letter with Weaver and Tidwell LLP to audit the district's basic financial statements as of and for the year ended August 31st, 2024, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve the engagement letter with Weaver and Tidwell LLP to audit the district's basic financial statements as of and for the year ended August 31st, 2024, as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of designation of officer to calculate and prepare tax rate.
Okay, last year we did this, and I'm asking that we do this again. We are required, the board is required to approve an officer designated by the governing body to calculate the new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for the taxing entity, the HEBISD. Tarrant County Tax Assessor performs this free of charge for us, so we're asking that we designate them as the officer. But as I did last year, I will run those calculations myself and just kind of do a double check to make sure it all lines up with what I think it ought to be. And we'll go with it that way.
All right, any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the Board of Trustees designate Tarrant County Tax Assessor Collector as the authorized officer to calculate the 2024-2025 no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for the taxing unit.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the Board of Trustees to designate Tarrant County Tax Assessor Collector as the authorized officer to calculate the 2024-2025 no new revenue tax rate and voter approval tax rate for the taxing unit. Please vote. That motion passes. 11.12, consider approval of RFP 20-04 for armored car services renewal. Mr. Gerbo?
Good evening, Mr. Romero, Dr. Harrington, and board members. It's that time of year again, we start renewing all of our annual services bids, and this one is for armored car services. Last year, we spent just under $65,000 in these services. They're asking for a 5% increase, which is within the tolerance that's allowed in the RFP. The majority of this is paid for out of federal funds, child nutrition, which is why it's being brought to the board for approval. And that's the item.
Any questions on the armored car services? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the extension of RFP 2004 for armored car services for the final year of the agreement from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025 as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the extension of RFP 20-04 for armored car services for the final year of this agreement from August 1, 2024 through July 31st, 2025 as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. 11.13, consider approval of increase in funding for child nutrition services vehicle.
At the May 20 meeting, we brought an item to you to request funding for a Ford F-350 for the technician that repairs our equipment and delivers equipment along with that. We omitted some of the features, so we specified this item. After realizing that, we want to bring this back to you. We've gone through and adjusted that, and pricing that, these have been updated and new pricing has been obtained, and the $60,000 will be sufficient to purchase this.
Any questions on this vehicle? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the funding and purchase of this vehicle from the Child Nutrition Services Fund as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the funding and purchase of this vehicle from Child Nutrition Services Fund as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of RFP 23-16, travel management and related services.
This item is just to renew this agreement for another year with the vendors that are listed. We have all different groups that have special travel needs, and these vendors here specialize in certain travel requests, and we're asking that we renew this for another year.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the extension of RFP number 23 through 16 for travel management and related services for the second year of this agreement from August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2025 as presented.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve the extension of RFP 23-16 for travel management and related services for the second year of this agreement from August 1, 2024 through July 31, 2025 as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. Item 11.15 has been pulled by administration, is that correct? All right. 11.16, consider approval of license agreement with Tarrant County College District for use of Northeast Campus pool and locker room.
Annual interlocal agreement with Tarrant County College District to continue using their pool at their northeast campus. The cost dropped slightly, but it's based on number of hours used and whether there's an hourly rate times that plus lifeguards. So it's $108,495.10 is the cost for this year.
Any questions? I'll accept a motion.
Move that the board approve the license agreement with Tarrant County College District for the use of the pool and locker room during the 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the license agreement with Tarrant County College District for the use of the pool and locker room during the 2024-2025 school year as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. Consider approval of renewal of RFP 23-17 for integrated pest control services.
Again, this is another annual agreement we need the board to approve. We spend in excess of $100,000 on pest control treatment, and this will be for year 2 of this agreement.
Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Curbo, does this cover the areas that are under construction? I only ask that because I know that typically when you're doing construction, things kind of
They start moving,
come out.
don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It will address the areas immediately adjacent to the constructed areas. We had a good discussion when we interviewed this firm and made them aware of our upcoming construction program, and they said, yes, we will cover all those treatments.
All right. Any other questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the extension of RFP 2317 to ABC Pest Control for integrated pest control services for the second year of this agreement as presented.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the extension of RFP 2317 to ABC Pest Control for integrated pest control services for the second year of this agreement as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.18, consider approval of visual and performing arts VPA replacement band instruments.
The VPA department has some funds, additional funds in the F money rollover that they need to spend, and they've developed a list of instruments that need immediately replacing, or at least to supplement our VPA groups, and the cost of this is just under $150,000. So.
All right. Do we have any questions?
The Friday update referenced the complete assessment that we're doing of all of our instruments, but that's not ready for presentation. Do you know when we expect that presentation will be ready for the board?
So we plan to bring that to you in August or September, depending on how the board calendar works out.
Excellent.
You're good.
All right. Any other questions? I had no idea bassoon costs more than a tuba. That surprised me. But I was like, wow.
It's that extra reed in the bassoon that costs so much.
Costs more than a small car.
First reed's free. The second one costs you, though.
Yeah.
I move the board approve the purchase of replacement band instruments from Music and Arts as presented.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the purchase of replacement band instruments from Music and Arts as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. 11.19, consider approval of general liability, umbrella, and commercial auto insurance renewal.
This is a bundled insurance policy that we get from TASB for the items listed, general liability, and that also includes errors and omissions and school officials, as well as auto and other protection there. But as you can see, the increase is just under 15%. But the coverages on the tabulation that you see point out where the differences are. We were able to get 3 competitive quotes for this, which was difficult to do over the last several years, but this was one that we want to bring to you to renew for the upcoming year.
All right, any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the renewal for 2024, 2025 from TASB as presented.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve the renewal for 2024, 2025 from TASB as presented. Please vote. That motion passes.
I'd like to take the opportunity to recognize Hector Coronilla. He is our risk and insurance specialist and worked hard to put this together. He's working even harder to get the property and casualty recommendation ready for next week, but we appreciate his hard work.
Thank you. All right, 11.20, consider approval of change order number 01 for 2100 Plaza property repairs.
You're correct. I'm not Josh. Josh is on vacation this week doing his counseling camp thing out in Granbury, actually. So I'm gonna step in for him. This is the 24-hour fitness property, and as you know, we've had insurance claim. We've been working with them back and forth on all that. When they did finally get all the electrical put back in and turned it on, then they discovered additional electrical issues. You know, as the main things came on, it went out and started shorting out the other things. So they've gone back and they've estimated this to be an additional, I think is it 65,000? I didn't bring my book up here. With a 35,000 contingency, but this will should all be covered by insurance. Again, it's just changing the contract so we can pick up those additional repairs that they've discovered and anything in the future they might pick up.
Any questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve change order number 01 for 2100 Plaza property repairs as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve change order number 1 for 2100 Plaza property repairs as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. (11.21) Consider approval of revision to student code of conduct for 2024-2025 school year. Dr. Johnson.
So each year we bring you the revisions to the student code of conduct, and this year we are honing in and getting closer and closer, so just a few changes.
Any questions?
Just 2 small comments, Brandon. As a parent that's already registered our kids, I realize this is not in this year's registration. Well, I did read and thank you for highlighting the yellow stuff. Will we notify students about the change of the AI penalty since they may not have read or agreed to it prior to this year's enrollment?
Yes, so one of the things that we're going to do along with the handbook as we work on finalizing that is send out both the handbook and the code of conduct with the changes that we add to it.
Okay, good.
All right. Any other questions? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the revisions to the student code of conduct for 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the revisions to the student code of conduct for the 2024-2025 school year as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.22, consider approval of international student travel.
We have a couple kids going to Spain next summer.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the international student travel as presented.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve the international student travel as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of organizations listed as extracurricular activities under 19 TAC, Texas Administration Code.
So at your desk, you have an amended version to reflect the changes that we had. Basically, what we did was we went through and we added some organizations that our kids have been part of participation, like Midwest Clinic and things like that. So we're just getting this list to reflect places that we have gone in the past and may end up going in the future.
All right. Are there any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the organizational list of extracurricular activities under 19 TAC as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and second for the board to approve organizations listed under extracurricular activities under 19 TAC as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.24, consider approval of Power School renewal for 2024-2025. Dr. Hopkins?
Howdy. So this is just our regular Power School that's used by HR, business operations, technology. So we're just requesting the renewal of the program.
Any questions on Power School? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the renewal of Power School application licenses as submitted.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the renewal of Power School application licenses as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. Consider approval of Cisco Network Electronics.
So as we've discussed, part of our technology bond projects is the revision of our data center. So these are electronics that are needed to continue with our upgrade.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the Cisco switchgear as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the Cisco switchgear as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.26, consider approval of Imagine Learning Edgenuity for grades 6 through 12.
Yes, so this is used by Keys as part of their credit recovery and acceleration program, and then it's used by our secondary campuses for intervention. We've been using this, so it's a renewal.
All right, any questions on this renewal? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the purchase of Imagine Learning Edgenuity as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the purchase of Imagine Learning Edgenuity as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. Consider approval of iPads and Apple Pencils.
So continuing on with our 5-year replacement cycle, we are requesting the opportunity to renew iPads and Apple Pencils for out-of-date models.
Any questions? I'll accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the purchase of iPads and Apple Pencils as submitted.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the purchase of iPads and Apple Pencils as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 11.28, consider approval of progress learning for grades K through 6.
So this is a renewal of a program that we use to help our students prep for STAR with all of the question types. In addition, it provides opportunities for teachers to use the program to close gaps in students' learning. It's used by all of our elementary-aged campuses.
All right, any questions on this renewal? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the purchase of Progress Learning as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the purchase of Progress Learning as submitted. Please vote. That motion passes. That is the end of our action items. Congratulations, board. Good job. All right, open forum number 2. All right, Cesar Patino. When you come up, you'll speak into the mic, and you'll have 3 minutes that'll pop up on the screen so that you'll know where you are. And feel free to start when you're ready.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Cesar Patino. I'm a parent of a tennis player. I am here on behalf of the tennis parents. We want to thank you, the board, for hearing our concerns a couple months back in the late April meeting. We also want to thank the administration, especially Mr. Brandon Johnson, for taking those concerns seriously and providing us feedback. We were able to hold a meeting earlier where these concerns are being discussed and plans are being put in place to resolve these issues as best as possible. While at the present time not all these concerns have been fully addressed, there are ongoing discussions that will hopefully allow our coach and principal to work together with the administration and design team to get them addressed. I will take time for all these. It will take time for all of these to be implemented. However, we still want to continue to advocate for our children. We will work with our tennis coach and our school principal as advised during our meeting to communicate further as the design and construction progress continues. One of the concerns was the distance from the lockers to the tennis court is still ongoing. From the meeting, the tennis department might possibly relocate to the new portion of the new building that's being built. However, that's still a concern. Another one was providing for our children a place to cool down. That's still ongoing. We were advised that the softball concession restroom area that recently completed, there's a room there that might be modified to have a cool down area so that in the interim this takes care of that need. Additionally, we understand that there's a future building just to the north of where these new courts will be placed. And in that building, it will have storage facilities, and hopefully, perhaps in that building, there can be a area for a cool down. But again, we want to thank you for what you are doing and continue to do for our children. And we want to thank you for taking the time and hearing our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patino. I know it was a long wait, so thanks for, thanks for waiting to speak with us. All right, we're down to other business. 13.01, opportunity for board members to request items to be placed on future board agendas. Does anybody have anything tonight? All right, 13.02, consider approval of Texas Caucus of Black School Board members membership. Were there any questions on this? I'll accept the motion.
I move the board approve the membership of Don Jordan Wells to the Texas Caucus of Black School Board members at a cost not to exceed $100 to be taken from the board's budget.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the membership of Don Jordan Wells to the Texas Caucus of Black School Board members at the cost not to exceed $100 to be taken from the board budget. Please vote. And that motion passes. We do not need a second closed session. I will accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.